Ladies and gentlemen, brothers and sisters, there is a quiet kind of power this world doesn't talk about. It's not flashy. It doesn't shout. It doesn't break things to prove a point, but it stands firm when everything else is shaking. It's the kind of strength that says, I will not be moved. It's the kind of strength that acts like nothing bothers it, not because it's blind, but because it sees with eyes of faith. You see, the world wants a reaction from you. The world wants you anxious. It wants you panicked. It wants you offended and bitter and loud. But when you act like nothing bothers you, you're telling the world, I serve a God who is greater than this storm. Amen? We live in a time where people think silence is weakness, but I'm here to tell you it's the opposite. The man or woman who can stay calm in the fire is not weak. They are walking with the one who controls the flames. You may feel pressure from every side, but you don't have to fold. You don't have to flinch, because the one who called you has already gone ahead of you. The enemy will whisper lies. He'll tell you you're not enough. He'll stir people up against you. He'll send storms your way. But if you just stand still, if you just breathe deep, lift your eyes and smile like nothing bothers you, He'll take it right out of His hands. Some of you walked in here carrying burdens. Some of you are fighting silent battles. But hear me, the battle is not yours, it belongs to the Lord. And if it belongs to Him, then what are you worried about? There is peace, my friend, not in the absence of trouble, but in the presence of God. That's why the lion doesn't flinch when jackals bark. That's why the eagle doesn't tremble when the wind howls. And that's why you don't have to react to every attack, every insult, every storm. You can act like nothing bothers you because deep inside you know something the world doesn't. You know who holds your future. You know who calms the waves. You know who walks with you through the valley of the shadow of death and brings you out on the other side. So stand tall, smile in the face of the storm. Let your peace be louder than your enemies. Let your stillness preach louder than your words ever could. Because when you act like nothing bothers you, you're not pretending. No, you're proclaiming. When we talk about acting like nothing bothers us, we're not talking about pretending or faking it or bottling things up. No, we're talking about a peace that passes all understanding, a kind of calm that doesn't come from within us, but from above us. This world will tell you to meditate, to manifest, to just breathe. But I'm here to tell you, true inner peace is not man-made. It is God-given. It's not something you work for. It's something you receive when your heart is surrendered. When your soul is anchored in something eternal, the temporary doesn't have the same grip on you. You don't react the way others do because your foundation is different. When people hurt you, you don't fall apart. When things go wrong, you don't panic. When the news is bad, you don't spiral into fear. Why? Because your heart is not tied to the stock market or the opinions of others or even your current situation. It's tied to the unchanging, unfailing, unshakable love of God. There's a kind of stillness that only comes when you've learned to trust the one who holds all things together. That's the kind of stillness Jesus had when the storm raged around his boat. The disciples were terrified, but he slept. Not because he didn't care, but because he knew who he was And that same peace, that same confidence is available to you. So when life presses in and people wonder why you're not shaking, just smile. Because you know something they don't. You've got peace the world can't give, and it sure can't take away. In this world, we've been taught to believe that strength is loud, that it flexes, that it fights back, that it always has the last word. But real strength, the kind that lasts, doesn't have to prove itself. Stillness is not weakness, it is power under control. It's the mark of someone who knows exactly where they stand and who stands with them. When you remain calm in chaos, you are declaring something louder than a shout. You're saying, I trust the one who's in control, that quiet strength where your soul is anchored and your heart isn't rattled, isn't born in comfort, it's born in pressure. It's forged in the fire. And those who carry it are the ones who've been through storms and learned that they don't have to be moved by the wind. Anyone can panic. Anyone can lash out. That takes no strength at all. But it takes divine maturity, holy discipline, and deep-rooted faith to stay still when everything around you is shaking, to hold your tongue when you're misunderstood, to keep your peace when others lose theirs. That's not passivity. That's power. And it's not that you don't feel the heat of the battle. It's that you've learned the battle doesn't belong to you. So you stand still, not because you don't care, but because you know who fights for you. And when you trust the God who sees the end from the beginning, you don't have to be loud. You don't have to rush. You don't have to prove anything. There's a moment in every trial, every storm, every heartache, when you look around and wonder, am I in this alone? That feeling of isolation, of being outnumbered, overwhelmed, unseen. It's real. But I want to remind you of something eternal, something unshakable. You are never alone in the fire. From the beginning of time, God has never abandoned his people in their moments of need. He didn't leave Joseph in the pit. He didn't leave Daniel in the lion's den. He didn't leave the 3 Hebrew boys in the furnace, and he will not leave you now. When they threw Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego into the flames, they expected them to be consumed. But when the king looked into the fire, he saw not 3 men, but 4. Walking around unbound, untouched, and the 4th looked like the Son of God. That presence, that holy companionship is why you can act like nothing bothers you. Not because you're blind to the battle, but because you know who's standing beside you. You know who holds your hand when the night gets long. You know who whispers peace when fear starts to rise. So the next time you feel the fire, don't panic, look around, look higher. You are not alone. The same power that raised Christ from the dead is walking with you through this very moment. And if he's with you, you will come out of the fire, not burned, not broken, but better refined, radiant, and carrying the fragrance of someone who has walked with God through the flame. The way we respond when life squeezes us reveals what we truly believe. It's easy to look composed when everything is going our way, but the real test of our character, the true measure of our faith, shows up in how we respond when pressure comes. Your reaction is a reflection of your inner condition. And when you act like nothing bothers you, you're showing the world that your peace isn't surface deep, it's rooted. You're showing that your identity isn't based on public opinion, on likes, on titles, or even on circumstances. It's based on something unshakable, Because if your heart is anchored in truth, then lies can't sink you. If your joy is anchored in eternity, then temporary troubles can't steal it. And if your worth is rooted in God, then insults bounce off like rain on a steel roof. That's why your reaction matters, not just for your own peace, but for the people watching you, because whether you realize it or not, someone is always watching. They see the way you carry yourself when you've been mistreated. They notice how you speak when you're tired, when you're wronged, when you're under pressure. And when you respond with grace, with calm, with strength, you preach a sermon without saying a word. When you act like nothing bothers you, you're not pretending. You're declaring your trust. You're saying, this doesn't shake me because my foundation is stronger than this situation. You're saying, I've been through worse, and I've seen God be faithful every time. You're saying, I'm not letting this moment define me because I know who already defined me. So don't underestimate your calm. Don't dismiss your peace. It speaks volumes. It tells the world who your God is. And when people ask, how are you not angry? How are you not panicking? How are you still standing? You can look them in the eye and say, because I know who I belong to. And that changes everything. There is something deeply powerful about a person who carries peace in the middle of a storm. Not just for their own sake, but for everyone watching them. Because peace, real peace, is not silent. It speaks. It preaches. It testifies. It draws people in. When the world sees someone unshaken in the middle of chaos, it makes them stop and wonder, what do they have that I don't? You see, your peace is not just for you, it's a witness. It becomes a living, breathing sermon. You don't have to quote scripture, shout from a pulpit, or argue your beliefs. Just by standing firm, smiling in the face of pressure, and carrying yourself with calm confidence, you are showing the world what it looks like to live anchored in something eternal. There's a reason Jesus said, let your light shine before others. Not let your voice be loud or let your anger be justified. He said, let your light shine, and peace is part of that light. It glows. It sets you apart. It says, I've been through something, but I'm not bitter. I've faced hardship, but I'm not broken. I've lost some things, but I haven't lost my joy. In a world that's frantic, anxious, and always reacting, your peace stands out like a lighthouse in the fog. It calls to others, even when you don't realize it. That coworker who keeps watching you, that friend who doesn't believe but always opens up to you, that family member who says nothing but keeps asking you how you stay calm. They're drawn to your peace because they're starving for their own. And that's the beautiful part. You don't need a microphone to reach people. You just need to be still, to be steady. Because when the world sees you standing tall, smiling gently, walking humbly through fire, they'll know there's something different about you. And when they ask what it is, you can tell them. It's not because life doesn't hit me. It's not because I'm stronger. It's because I've got peace that this world didn't give me, and it sure can't take it away. Faith isn't fragile. It doesn't crack when life gets heavy. It doesn't dissolve when things don't go according to plan. Real, rooted, tested faith stands when everything else falls. It's not made of glass. It's made of steel refined by fire. And when you walk through seasons that stretch you, pressure you, test you, your faith isn't weakened. It's proven. So when you act like nothing bothers you, It's not that you're numb or naive, it's that your faith has seen too much to flinch. You've walked through enough valleys. You've seen too many miracles. You've been carried through too many storms to fall apart now. You've been through nights where the only thing you could do was pray, and the peace of God met you there. And now, that kind of faith doesn't shake easy. Because faith that's never been tested might look good on the outside, but it's in the pressure where its true strength is revealed. When people turn on you, when the job falls through, when the doctor's report is bad, when the prayers feel unanswered, that's when your faith speaks up, not with noise, but with stability, with calm. The world expects you to panic. The world expects you to react like everyone else does. But when you walk through pain and your faith stays intact, you're showing the world a different way to live, a way that doesn't fall apart every time the wind changes, a way that doesn't depend on everything going right, a way that's rooted in something far bigger than circumstance. And yes, there may be moments when you feel the weight of it. You may have tears in your eyes and heaviness in your chest, but even then, you don't collapse because your foundation is stronger than the shaking around you. And deep down, you know this: God is faithful. He was yesterday, He is today, and He will be tomorrow. So, no, faith isn't fragile. And if you've got real faith, you don't have to scream it. You just live it. You just keep walking. Keep believing. Keep standing tall. And the world will see it not in your words, but in your unshakable calm. Not everything that comes against you is meant to destroy you. Some things are simply meant to distract you. The enemy doesn't always come with force. Sometimes he comes with noise, with irritation, with petty offenses. Why? Because if he can't take your calling, he'll try to steal your focus. And one of the most powerful tools the enemy uses isn't always the big tragedies. It's the small, constant distractions that chip away at your peace. The side comments, the misunderstandings, the delays, the disappointments. He wants you tangled up in battles that don't belong to you. He wants you constantly defending yourself, explaining yourself, reacting to every little thing. But when you act like nothing bothers you, when you stay steady and refuse to react to every provocation, you are doing something deeply spiritual. You are guarding your peace, and you're denying the enemy the attention he craves. You're saying, I see what's happening, but I'm not coming down from where God has placed me just to argue with distractions. Remember when Nehemiah was rebuilding the wall? His enemies tried to lure him down, to pull him into petty conflict. But Nehemiah said something powerful. I am doing a great work, and I cannot come down. That's what your attitude should be. Every time something tries to pull you into chaos, you need to declare, I'm doing a great work in my soul. I'm building peace. I'm walking in purpose. I'm not coming down to fight battles that don't matter. Because not everything deserves your reaction. Not every insult needs a response. Not every setback deserves your energy. And the moment you understand that, you start moving differently. You stop reacting and start rising. You start choosing stillness over struggle, purpose over pride. So when the enemy throws shade, throws lies, throws noise, act like it doesn't bother you because you know better. You know it's bait. You know it's beneath your calling. And more importantly, you know the one who fights your battles better than you ever could. There's something deeply powerful that happens when you make the decision to stay calm, especially in moments when everything in you wants to do the opposite. When you're hurt, when you're insulted, when you're misunderstood, the natural response is to lash out, defend yourself, prove a point. But when you choose stillness instead, when you choose to hold your peace, most people never touch. Because self-pretending isn't weakness, it's spiritual maturity. It takes far more strength to stay silent than to speak. It takes more courage to walk away than to argue. And it takes deep faith to say, God sees this. I don't have to fight this. When you hold your tongue, when you don't react in anger, when you don't let emotion lead the moment, you are actually showing that your emotions don't control you, your spirit does. And that's a sign that you're not just reacting from your flesh, but responding from a place of wisdom, patience, and divine trust. You're not avoiding conflict because you're afraid. You're avoiding it because you're aware. Aware that your peace is too precious to waste on foolish arguments. Aware that your calling is too important to detour for every distraction. Aware that your energy is better spent moving forward than proving points. Jesus himself modeled this. When he was accused, mocked, betrayed, he could have called down angels. He could have silenced his accusers in a word. But instead, he stood in quiet authority, not because he couldn't speak, but because he didn't need to. His confidence wasn't in a comeback. It was in his Father. That's the power you carry when you hold your peace. You're saying, I don't need to react because God already has the final word. You're trusting that truth speaks louder than emotion. And that silence, when it's spirit-led, is not surrender, it's strategy. So the next time someone pushes you, tests you, provokes you, the next time someone pushes you, pause, breathe, and remind yourself you're led by the pressure of the moment. You're led by... When you walk through life, it's easy to forget one of the most powerful truths that sustains us. Your value is not determined by your circumstances. It doesn't change with the highs or the lows, with the applause or the criticism. Your worth is not subject to the whims of this world. It is rooted in something far greater, something far more eternal. People will come and go, jobs will rise and fall, dreams will either be realized or delayed. But none of these things can ever alter the core of who you are, because you were made in the image of the Almighty. You are a child of God, bought with a price, loved unconditionally. And that love is not conditional on anything you do or don't do. It's steadfast, immovable, unshakable. And when you remember that, when you know your value is defined by who He's, there will be times when people try to define you by your mistakes, by your failures, by your past. There will be times when the world tries to reduce you to your role or your reputation. But when you understand your true worth, you don't let those definitions stick. You don't wear the labels that others try to attach to you. You wear the truth of who God says you are. And that's why when things go wrong, when people betray you, when life isn't fair, your worth doesn't diminish. When the world tells you you're not enough, God's truth whispers, you are fearfully and wonderfully made. When rejection stings, remember that you are accepted in the beloved. When the world tells you to prove yourself, remember that your worth was settled the moment you were chosen by God. It's not the accolades of the world that determine who you are. It's the love of the Creator. His love is your anchor in the storm, your firm foundation when everything else feels like quicksand. And no matter how hard the world tries to shake you, your identity in Christ remains the same. So when you face rejection, disappointment, or when life just doesn't go your way, don't let it affect how you see yourself. Because your value isn't based on the opinions of others, the success you've had, or the failures you've endured. It's rooted in the unshakable truth that you are a beloved child of God, and that is worth more than anything this world could ever give or take away. When you understand this, nothing can bother you, not the insults, not the setbacks, not the mistakes, because you're not just acting like nothing bothers you, you're living from a place of knowing that you are enough, not because of what you do, but because of who you are in Him. In life, we are constantly told to look around and judge our circumstances by what we see. Society tells us that success is measured by the things we achieve, the titles we carry, or the possessions we own. But the truth is, what is seen is temporary, and the true value of our lives is not found in what's visible to the world. The real test, the real strength, is found in the unseen. It's the quiet assurance that no matter what happens on the outside, there is a peace, a confidence, and a purpose that flows from deep within. When you act like nothing bothers you, it's not about ignoring your feelings or pretending that life is perfect. It's about choosing to see with eternal eyes. You recognize that the trials of today are momentary, but the glory to come is eternal. Your perspective shifts from the temporary struggles to the eternal truths that anchor your soul. You understand that no matter what the world throws your way, your soul is secure in God's hands, and that gives you an unshakable peace. This peace comes from knowing that your life isn't just some random sequence of events. It's part of a bigger divine story, a story where God has written the beginning, the middle, and He's already secured the end. When you act like nothing bothers you, you're proclaiming that you believe in that divine narrative. You know that whatever storm you're facing is just a chapter, and God is the author of your story. It's important to remember that this peace, this deep knowing, is not dependent on what happens around you. It's rooted in who you are in Christ and what He has already done for you. When Jesus said, "It is finished," He wasn't just speaking of His sacrifice on the cross. He was speaking over every struggle, every fear, every anxiety, every storm you would ever face. He finished it all. And that means no matter how turbulent the waters get, no matter how fierce the battle seems, you can stand firm because the battle has already been won. Acting like nothing bothers you isn't a denial of reality. It's a declaration that you see beyond the moment. You know that in the grand scheme of things, the struggles are small compared to the glory that awaits. And because you trust in the one who holds the universe in His hands, you can walk through the hardest times with a heart at peace, knowing that this too shall pass, and you will be stronger for it. So when life hits you hard, when the road feels rough, when the people around you don't understand, you can still stand tall. You can still Act like nothing bothers you, not because the situation doesn't matter, but because you know who matters most. And that makes all the difference. Acting like nothing bothers you isn't about pretending that life doesn't throw challenges your way or that pain and disappointment don't exist. It's about understanding where your true peace comes from. It's about recognizing that your foundation is not built on fleeting circumstances or temporary emotions, but on a steady, unshakable faith. It's a choice to walk through the storms with a heart at peace, knowing that no matter what happens, you are never alone, and your worth is not defined by the things of this world. When you stand firm, unshaken, unflinching in the face of adversity, you become a living testimony to the power of God's peace. Your calm, your strength, your grace in the midst of chaos is a light to the world, a beacon of hope for those who are still searching for the peace that only God can provide. You don't need to explain it. You don't need to defend it. You simply need to walk in it, trusting that God is in control and that His love will never fail you. So, when life presses in, when people misunderstand, when situations seem impossible, remember this: you are not defined by your circumstances. You are defined by the unchanging, unfailing love of God. You are His child, and He is with you every step of the way. And with that peace, that confidence, nothing in this world will ever truly bother you. You have the strength to stand, to smile, and to keep moving forward because you know the one who holds the future, and that makes all the difference.